It has been all Utah State tonight, 43-7 on top of Fresno State, essentially ruining homecoming here in Fresno. Rich Waltz along with Adam Archuleta. I'll bet you around the Mountain West Conference, especially maybe in the coaches' offices in Boise, they're taking note of this score.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing you have to learn when you're part of this conference is you don't count out Utah State. No matter what happens with their quarterback situation, any drama, they have figured out a way to be competitive every single game. And just when you thought maybe things weren't going their way at the beginning of the season, as soon as Mountain West Conference play hit, they have looked outstanding and getting better by the game.
This is 4th and goal for Fresno State, and they will keep it on the ground and get it into the end zone. Martez Waller takes it in, and for the Bulldogs, a little something to smile about to start this the 4th quarter. It's been a long night for the Bulldog offense. Yardage and points have been tough to come by.
It shows you what big plays can do for your team. We've seen both teams here tonight capitalize, scoring touchdowns off of those big plays. You had a brilliant throw from Anderson to Damari Scott on a fade route to get him down there in that position. They haven't been able to come by those types of plays here in the last 2 games.
That's the first touchdown by a Fresno State running back this year. That's amazing. This is game number 6 on the season.
That is pretty remarkable. I would have thought that at this point in the season, especially when you look at preseason, how this offense was going to be set up, that Martez Waller would be in for a big year this year. But I think it's because of that passing game. And defense is really keying on that and committing their safeties up to stop their running game that has led to a drop in production this year for Waller.
So the Bulldogs with their second touchdown and a 43-14 4th quarter lead for Utah State. So Utah State 15 minutes away from walking out of here with a rare win in Fresno. Remember, we told you at the outset of the telecast, 1980 was the last time that Utah State came here and won.
I think there was a tie in 1990, if I'm not mistaken.
There was, Arch. I mean, yeah, if you're going to get technical on it.
Hey, I'm a technician now.
As well, I mean, homecoming has been, I want to say, a layup because the Bulldogs usually play a pretty good team in here, but they have won 8 straight homecoming games. This is Kennedy Williams on the return, and it pile still moving. Williams underneath it, and he gets out to the 33-yard line. 26 yards on the return. Kent Myers, the sophomore quarterback, getting the start. He was outstanding on the ground last week. This week, through the air.
I think you have to be extremely pleased with where Kent Myers is right now as a quarterback for this football team. You saw the early deep shot. He's been able to dump it off short. His wide receivers really have played well for him and stepped up tonight. And when you think about it, 18 for 25, 260 yards, and 1 touchdown. If he can throw the ball like this, and you add it to what he can do on the ground like we saw last week, he could be a dangerous weapon for the Aggies as the season goes on.
Fresno State either didn't have the right personnel or saw something they didn't like. And I think it's the Bulldogs who have called the timeout.
The previous play is under further review.
So they are reviewing. It looked like Fresno State asked for a timeout to force the review. I mean, you might as well, if you're upstairs in the Fresno State coaches' boxes and you're Tim DeRuyter and you think maybe you had a shot at a turnover at the end of that last play, you might as well call the timeout and challenge
Yeah, I thought when I saw that thing happen, Kennedy Williams was down. The question was, did he fall on top of the tackler and not hit the ground? But I think it's going to show that he clearly hit the ground. You're going to see him right there, number 87 on the tackle. You can see that knee goes down right there.
But creative of him to keep running and moving off the spin. So good work upstairs.
After review, the runner's knee was down at the 24-yard line. Please reset the game clock to 14:53. First down, Utah State.
And no timeout used. Let's go down to Cassie Gallo. Cassie?
Well, Rich, a little update on Lawan Hunt. He's been over here on the sideline laying on his back, and the head team trainer has been working on his left calf, says it's a bad cramp, so they've been stretching and rubbing it. Didn't seem to be in too much pain, but Hunt has been having a little trouble walking around on it. I'm told they're waiting to decide if they're going to put him back in at this point or just let him rest.
Hey, Cassie, I know it was hot, close to 95 degrees at kick. What's the temperature like down there right now?
It is definitely cooled off, not hot at all. So not too bad right here.
Tony Lindsay with the carry.
I don't know if you know this, but it's hard work running around untouched all night. And the only workout that Lawan Hunt had was the weight of the football in his arms as he was running.
I was waiting for sarcasm to hit. I didn't know it was scheduled early in the fourth quarter from you.
That's truth.
Damian Hobbs is in at quarterback, and we told you Hobbs is a guy that will take some reps and some mileage away from Kent Myers in order to keep him fresh and healthy. A good flying tackle there. Kennedy Williams with the carry. Now, Utah State would like to avoid what they had to go through last year when they had 4 different quarterbacks. As you drew it up, Harrison, Garrettson, Keaton, and Myers. Not necessarily in that order. They're down at 4. Hobbs fires it down the field and has a completion, has a man. And it's caught by Utah State's Tyler Fox for 21 yards, but there is a flag down, and Utah State is walking backwards, which is never a good sign.
After the play was over, personal foul, number 85, Utah State. 15-yard penalty on the dead ball spot. First down.
Arch, after watching Scott Campbell, our referee, a reminder, you need to get yourself back into the gym.
Right there in the middle of the screen. That's Chris Copier, the third string tight end. Rich, I heard you, by the way.
From the 36, Utah State keeps it on the ground with Tony Lindsay, a sophomore out of Long Beach. Matt Wells still intense. Not upset at the officials, but upset at his player. Second down, 6. Lindsay again. Utah State trying to run clock through the sticks. Lindsay is right at the first down at the 46-yard line. The big picture here is that Utah State seems to be building momentum, Adam Archuleta. And the 2 losses to 2 pretty good teams in the Pac-12, Utah and Washington on the road. They got a nice win to start their Mountain West schedule, beating Colorado State. And now they are headed to 2-0. That would put them atop the Mountain Division, tied Boise State A convincing win over Colorado State themselves tonight. Lindsey again close to midfield.
Well, I would say that offensively, look, defensively, they're going up against a Fresno State football offense that, let's face it, is not among one of the best in the Mountain West. So you would expect the defense to come out here and play the way they did, because it's always one of the best defenses. But, offensively now, they've seemed to have stumbled onto a little formula. They're getting great production by both your running backs. The receivers are starting to make big plays both down the field and short with runs or yards after the catch. And you gotta like what you see from Kent Myers.
And that one gets by Damian Hobbs. Going to be a loss all the way back to the 36-yard line.
So it looks like Hobbs, look at his eyes. He's looking toward the sideline. And he's trying to change the play. And the backup center, Jerome Ioane, snaps it a little bit prematurely.
It's a loss of 12. And still a second down. A lot of the second string offensive line. Some of the third string skill position in there right now. And Hobbs, the backup quarterback, getting some reps in throwing the football. They're giving him some of the playbook to work with. Tyler Fox along the sideline. Third down, big bunch. We're down at 22. Hobbs again making sure that the center knows he's at the line of scrimmage. And they'll keep it on the ground. Justin Hervey.
You know what's interesting about that last play is the fact that Hobbs, on a 3rd and 22, up 43-14, looked to the sideline to see if he was in the right play, as if there was another option right there other than to run the ball to the right. Pretty funny.
But you never know when you're going to be called upon, and that certainly is paid off for Kent Myers. But when Chucky Keaton went down, Myers last year 5-1 as a starter. He won last week. He's going to be 7-1 as a starting quarterback at Utah State.
Well, not to mention that they've tried to redshirt him for 2 years. I mean, that's what they wanted for 2 seasons. Matt Wells have tried to redshirt him.
Back to Fresno, 43-14. Utah State has ruined homecoming tonight. It is the Chick-fil-A fan cam. The alumni cheerleaders were out. Homecoming near Fresno. A lively bunch, especially early.
Started out tonight as homecoming, and now it's homegoing.
43-14, Utah State on top of Fresno State. But for the fans that have made the trip in from Utah, and the Utah State fans that have come in from California, this has been a fun night for them. You see the total yardage. Utah State has been dominant here. That one incomplete. Hilton Anderson, the freshman quarterback, trying to get to Malik Meisenheimer. And they'll bring up 2nd down and 10. Second down and 10. You know, for Utah State, they've had to overcome an awful lot this year. Not only the injury to their star quarterback, Chucky Keaton, little swing pass that's incomplete. But back in June, there was a car crash that involved 4 defensive linemen, some serious injuries. We've seen John Taylor out there, who's been playing. There's a look at Taylor. Edmund Faimalo, who's also played. The leader of the defensive line, Travis Seafelt, unfortunately, his injuries have kept him out. As well, Adewale Doye. Sarah Vasquez, also a softball athlete at Utah State, was involved in that crash. And that obviously, for any coach, any parent, just a horrific thing to go through. And an interception there. Brock Carmen with the pick. And Carmen inside the 15, cuts back. Carmen is inside the 10 and to the 8-yard line. So this Utah State defense rises up, 19 yards on the return. Kevin Clune, the defensive coordinator, has to be pretty pleased with the play of his defense tonight.
He came into this game talking about how he wanted to see that front seven take control of this football game, and I think it's happened.
It's happened up front. It's happened in the backfield. Utah State forces a Fresno State turnover. And it's 43-14 Aggies.
Brent Stover in New York, it's over. In Salt Lake, Jared Goff on 4th and 5, down 6. A potential game-winning drive. It's broken up. He threw 5 picks, yet they still almost pull it off. Utah survives 30-24.
All right, Brent Stover, thank you for that. We'll look for you after this one on Inside College Football. AP Top 10 today. A quick glance. We'll get back to it shortly. And Utah State, Damian Hobbs straight ahead. Hobbs to the 4-yard line. That Utah win significant. It affects certainly Utah State, because Utah State gave Utah a scare somewhat. They were tied at the half. It was tight at the end. And so Utah now goes to 5-0, taking down Cal.
Major credit to Kyle Whittingham. It's really kind of unbelievable when you looked at the Pac-12 South when the season started, and there Utah is playing at such a high level. Love how they get after the quarterback.
Hobbs, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown Utah State. Damian Hobbs, the sophomore quarterback who's looked confident and comfortable running the offense. He's a much bigger quarterback, 6'2", 220. They like him on the inside zone read runs, and he's in the end zone, and Utah State can hit 50 with an extra point here. That's not a guy you really want to chest bump coming off the field if you're a little receiver, right? It's not like the regular quarterback. He's the big bruiser.
Yeah, he can put some pain, inflict a little bit of pain.
So off the interception by Brock Carmen, it's Damian Hobbs into the end zone. Chest bump that. 50-14 Utah State. All right, Adam Archuleta, it's the eye of the future and a breakdown of Aggie NFL prospect Kyler Fackrell.
Yeah, one of the more exciting players you're going to find in the Mountain West. Missed last year with an ACL injury, but his comeback this year. Had a dominating performance last week against Colorado State. 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 6 quarterback hurries. He's got 11 career sacks, 28 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, including a 99-yard touchdown. He's about 10 pounds of solid muscle from being an outstanding prospect for the National Football League, but certainly somebody you need to look forward to seeing on Sundays when he's done.
This is a very good quartet of linebackers. Fackrell, Viliunga, Nick Vigil is terrific. Torrey Green, the senior, as well. And that's out of bounds. Now the ball is loose. It's in the end zone. It's picked up. And that was a disaster there to the 4-yard line. Meisenheimer ends up covering the ball. Damari Scott had trouble not only keeping his balance, but keeping the football.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he was aware of the rules. He threw it back in because he thought for some reason that was going to be a safety.
Was his foot out of the end zone here, which would be a touchback.
No, I think there's a little bit of green right there. But not the smartest
It's a good heads-up play, though, by Meisenheimer to retrieve the ball. All right, now Fresno State trails 50-14, and they have very little wiggle room here. Marquez Waller is down to the 4. Cassie Gallo has got more on Kyler Fackrell.
Yeah, to add what you guys were saying, he's one of the players that both coaches on both of these teams praised this week, but he didn't always get everyone's attention. Out of high school, wasn't highly recruited. In fact, Utah State was the only FBS school to offer him a scholarship. But defensive coordinator Kevin Clune said Kyler has an unbelievable ability to adapt and learn new skills. That's why he's been so successful. It showed last week, and it showed tonight.
Adaptability. Arch is someone that played in the NFL. If you're a scout, is that on your little list of check marks along with speed, agility, size?
Well, you have to be an all-around player, and especially an outside linebacker, a guy that's 250 pounds. Yes, absolutely. You can't just be a full-time pass rusher. You're going to have to drop into coverage, make plays, and be an all-around football player. So absolutely.
Now, you were a linebacker in college, a safety in the NFL. What was your score in adaptability heading into the NFL?
Pretty high adaptability, Rich, but I'll tell you this. I didn't even get offered by Utah State. How about that? So he's one up me already.
That's right. You were a walk-on at Arizona State. So you did adapt quite nicely and thrive. Damari Scott with a catch, and he's out to the 20-yard line. Fresno State trying to move the football. What can you take away for Kilton Anderson, the redshirt freshman, making his first start as a collegiate?
Well, he was put in a very tough spot because the offense was not exactly humming along before he got it. Everybody else is still trying to find themselves, but I think the limitations of the playbook, the fact that he hasn't really had time to develop as a spread passing quarterback at the collegiate level really limited what they're able to do. And you get a veteran defense like this that just keys on it, and you can't attack them in different ways. There's really not much you can do.
Waller on the carry, and he's out to the 28-yard line. Now, Anderson's assignment next week, if he starts, is probably a little less ambitious. You've got a rebuilding UNLV team that will come in here.
Yes, but you still have to be able to execute. And I don't know, UNLV is looking at this offense and thinking to themselves, hey, we can get after this group. We've seen it 2 weeks in a row now. San Diego State's defense and Utah State's defense, certainly two of the better defenses in the conference, but they have not shown much on film offensively here in the last 2 weeks. It's going to put a lot of fear in the defense.
And that one, a diving catch. Is it picked? It is. That's Jens Painter, the junior safety. So 2 interceptions on the last 2 Fresno State possessions, and Dave Schramm's quarterback school continues. Utah State forces another turnover, a big lead here in Boise.
Football on CBS Sports Network is being brought to you by Verizon. Watch live, local, and primetime games on NFL Mobile, included only on Verizon. By Auto Trader. Life happens one car search at a time. And by National Mortgage Lender Quicken Loans. Home buy, refi, power.
This has been an impressive night for Utah State, a 50-14 lead over Fresno State in Fresno on homecoming. I mean, Fresno doesn't lose many homecoming games. It's been an 8-game win streak homecoming for Fresno State. And Jens Painter celebrating an interception. Look at the turnovers in the last 3 games.
Yeah, they've really been able to get after offenses. And I think Kevin Clune is starting to figure out exactly what this defense does well.
436 yards offensively for Utah State. Now the defense and the offense that Utah State faces next week is going to be a much different look. Boise State is up next.